he could easily just walk through this thing with his abilities.
Yeah.
But he works every day like he's a 14 guy fighting for playing.
Sure. I mean, the identity that I hope our guys have by the end of the spring is the three things that I said in the press release. I want them to play fast, and obviously there's a longer answer to explain why these things are important to me. But if I told him the other day, if I put on my gravestone as a coach what I wanted our team to be, I wanted to be fast, physical, and hungry. And when you have a kid who's had as much success as Tylen, I told them again in a unit meeting that there's those guys can be prima donnas sometimes when they've had a ton of success and not come out to practice every day. And just like the quarterbacks, like I said a second ago, when you have a workman group at quarterback and then you get a wideout who has had a ton of success come out and just practice his tail off every day, that just is infectious. So when you get your best players doing that, it makes our goal of being fast, physical, and hungry a little bit more attainable, because I think we're breeding the right mentality out of all of them.
A lot of guys, a lot of good receivers in that group. And when you look at all the skill, is that the biggest difference for you working with more physical speed than you've seen?
There's a little more speed. There's just more guys.
Yeah.
So it's not too different than when I was in Division III and went to the Ivy League. We had a couple kids in Division III when I was at Williams College who could probably be on an Ivy League team. We just didn't have a lot of them. Same thing on the Ivy League roster. We had some guys that would, if they walk out to practice right now, they'd be fine. A kid like Jesper Horsted who played in the Shrine game, he'd be fine. We just have one Jesper Horsted. Here you have a couple guys that would definitely stand out. So the depth when you're at this level at FBS with scholarships and you can attract talent from all over the country, there's a little bit more tools in the toolbox. So,
how's your working relationship with Charlie Dickey, and what have you thought of his group? Because that's an area that has had to move along from the last several years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it speaks to my effect on it, but I think anybody could get along with Charlie Dickey. The guy is like salt to the earth O-line guy, easy to work with, humble, hardworking, great practice coach and technician. We had the Princeton staff out here the last couple of days, and they were immediately talking about how great all Charlie Dickey's drills were and that they're going to take them back and use all of them. So he's incredible. He's very knowledgeable in the run game, but for me, for a guy who's been in the league as long as he has, it's just a great source of information and a great resource for me, especially as we get into the summertime and we start looking at some of our opponents to analyze some of these coordinators that have been in the league in a little while and how we're going to attack them.
Gundy has made comment about he noticed you work a lot more with footwork with your quarterbacks and maybe some of these other coordinators. What's the significance for you in working on that aspect for those guys?
The genesis is I had terrible feet as a quarterback, so I'm a bit more clumsy than these guys were. But some of those things were, your experience as a coach is shaped so much as your experience as a player, what you kind of latch onto and what you do. I had a great few coaches, quarterback mentors that kind of branded some things in my brain as it relates to quarterback development, some of which are footwork drills. But I'm not, you'll find in quarterback coaching land that there's some guys that are just coach people's feet, just coach people's arms, or just read the defense, or some coaches progress. I always try to mix and do both. But yeah, I might have some things that the previous guys didn't do, but they're not earth-shattering. They're just things that really helped me as a player, and I've watched people succeed with as a coach now, and I've implemented some of those things.
Everybody likes to have special tools in their tool chest. Mm-hmm. Have you figured out how special Joe Bear can be, being a converted offensive lineman to that fullback, and what you can do with him?
Yeah. I would say Larry is a great indication of what we want all our guys to do, which is there's a lot of news out there now about people getting disenfranchised with their state of affairs in a program and jumping on a portal or doing so. That's a kid who was given a new role, embraced it, and is now attacking a new version of himself. So in college football and college athletics right now, I think everybody wants to be the star, but it's great to see a story when a kid like Larry or many of our guys, their coaches tell them something to do, they embrace it, and then they attack it. And I think I would love that attitude to be kind of spread amongst all our guys.
What was your takeaway Friday from your quarterbacks with them finally getting an opportunity to, as Gundy said, not be babied? They had to go out there and kind of figure out any mistakes that they might make.
It's hard for me because on a day like last Friday, I'm in the booth. So for the practices leading up until that, there's been some team periods where I've gone upstairs and called it from up there. But I'm not on the field at all, short of stretch. So when you're conditioning yourself as a coach to kind of always be in there, giving them a point about their decision making or their feet or whatever. I'm upstairs. I don't have my hands on them as much. So it's sink or swim a little bit, and we find out a lot about what we know and what we don't know. But I think I told Robert a second ago, what I like about our group is that good or bad, they approach the next day with like a very hungry mentality, and they want to get better. So I saw a lot. In the days after some of the things on Friday, in the day we played pretty well. I thought we played well. I was just excited to see them still be aggressive about wanting to get better. And I had a couple of kids come up to me and say, "Coach, where do you think I need to go as a player? What do I need to do better in these next couple of months to take the next step?" So that's what you want to hear from your guys.
Are there particular things you're hoping to see from the quarterbacks in a little bit more of a different setting with some fans and things on Saturday?
Yeah, we always say, like, are you a contender or are you a pretender, right? So when the lights go on, how do you respond? You hope that your level of training prepares your kid to handle fans or a particularly tight moment or whatever. But and we're going to work hard to kind of get them so that their training is harder than those moments. But it's just like when you sign up for the school play. As those lights go on, are they going to sink or swim? And just be another opportunity, another lens to kind of view their development. But I would expect them to perform really well in front of some people on Saturday.
Since we're at the end, basically, of spring now, you kind of look back a little bit. Do you think it's made it easier or harder on you as a first-year coach breaking in a first-year quarterback, whoever it ends up being?
Not really. I've been coaching quarterbacks for a while now. My brain as a player was always trying to get better and better every single day. So that narrative in my head has been going on much longer than just a couple months that I've been here. So, at previous jobs, when you get a freshman and you got to kind of like start anew and figure out what his parts work right and what work wrong. And the one thing that I think was probably early on, I made a point to you guys is, that I felt like I was learning, right? And I think most people would want somebody on their staff that would come in and say, I'm eager to learn, right? If I had come in here as a know-it-all, I don't think that's a good way to approach the first time on a job. So whether it's a know-it-all about the offense or know-it-all about the quarterbacks, I view every day with some humility, and I think that the kids are responding that way too. They come to the meetings and they come to practice with a great attitude. So I think that's been a little bit of the transition for me and for the kids too, is like, as long as you come with some humility and you work hard, things are going to turn out okay for you.
I asked Coach Knowles about this, the NCAA rules that allow the meetings over the summer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you had that in the FCS division, how much meeting time you had over the summer, but how valuable do you see that time in working?
I just think that anytime, spring practice, we're practicing 3 times a week, and we're out there and we got our 20 hours like everybody else, but sometimes things get accelerated a little bit. Your meetings before practice, for instance, with the quarterbacks are pretty short. So if there's a time to maybe slow some things down and kind of reteach things at a little different pace and give them an opportunity to ask a few more questions, that'll be invited in the summertime stuff. Just kind of breaking them down a little bit and not worrying about hustling out there with their pads on and to get going. So I'm excited for that.
How much more comfortable are you right now as compared to a month ago?
Yeah, I think I was always comfortable. I was learning in the beginning, still learning. I'll always be learning, right? But I think what was learning, a learning mindset in the beginning was a lot about the personalities of the kids, what motivates them. I feel a little bit more comfortable now as it relates to knowing the guys and what makes them tick, which was a big part of the transition. Same thing with the coaching staff, just kind of creating a rapport. You're going into a room, you don't really know anybody, creating a rapport amongst the staff and the dialogue that is beneficial to creativity and success and all that stuff. But I feel extremely welcomed by the people of this community, and I feel a little bit more comfortable with the personalities that are in the building here, and hopefully get the most out of everybody, because that's really what my job is, to make sure that all our guys, quarterback to O-line to whatever, coaches, everybody reaches their potential.
You've got a
and sort of done some recruiting. You got Moorhead, obviously. If I'm not mistaken, this is the first time in your career that you have scholarships involved during
Yeah,
recruiting.
yeah.
What difference is that going to make when you're not having to try to work through all of those other
Well,
details?
when you're at the FCS level, and Princeton in particular, without scholarships, you do your best to sell, but there's always a conversation as it relates to how much they might have to pay. Mom and dad mom's a lawyer and dad's a pilot for American Airlines or something like that, and then there's going to be a pretty steep price to pay, regardless of how much you like that kid and how good a job you've done in recruiting, because need-based financial aid is exactly that, is do you need it? So when you go into a room now and you get a golden ticket with a scholarship, you're sitting more a little bit on the merits of your own salesmanship and the success of your own program, not necessarily handcuffed by, do mom and dad make a lot of money and are they going to have to pay a lot of money to go to Princeton or some of these other places that I worked at. So it's exciting in that regard, but the competition's stiff. So just like it was, some of these other jobs I've had. So I think what the product here is for a kid to sign up for the product here is not too different than me as a coach kind of evaluating programs in the off season and interviewing and so on and so forth. I felt like a recruit for a couple months there, kind of just watching this whole hiring cycle. And I'm a former quarterback. I'm a quarterback guy. I'm an offensive guy. There's no better place in the country to be an offensive coach than here, and that's what excited me. So I'm hoping that quarterbacks feel the same way. We throw the ball, we light up the scoreboard. There's a ton of yards. We play fast. I mean, everything that I think modern football is heading toward, we embody. So I think it's a pretty easy sell for that.
What are some of your favorite qualities about both Drew and Spencer?
Favorite qualities. Drew has been in a couple different offenses now, so I may have said this earlier, but he's got a lot of perspective on the same set of plays, but different coaching styles or different methods to do things. So we have dialogue sometimes about like, well, at my last school, they talked about this play this way, and here they've talked about it like this. So it's almost like you're talking to a football historian in that regard, much like a coach. And Spencer is he's exactly what you want out of a young kid, which is very humble and excited to be coached, and kind of like a blank canvas a little bit, whereas Drew's open to learning, but he's got a lot more programmed in his brain from the couple stops that he's been at. So both kids, I've said it 3 or 4 times in this setting, but they're just tremendous to coach. We got to make sure that we get the most out of both of them. But I've been really excited to work with them every single day.
You've been on staff here, Sean, I don't know, 70 days, 80 days, whatever. I mean, the business of getting your family relocated, and if you guys have talked about this, I'm sorry.
No.
But I mean, is that a work in progress? I mean, is that,
Yeah.
is that an
Work
after
in
the-
progress
after
is-
the semester ends move?
No, well, my wife.
I don't know how old your kids are.
In full disclosure, my wife is amazing. She is like a teacher by trade. She's a Spanish teacher. She's taught AP Spanish, but she is a real estate maniac by hobby. And she did a really great job. We've sold our place in New Jersey, and we've closed on a place here. So now we're not moved in yet because we got still some dominoes to fall. But my wife deserves a ton of credit. We got 2 kids, 2 young kids. I got a 2-year-old who's got 103 fever right now, and a 3-month-old who likes to stay up at night. So
Patrick is the baby.
yes,
Yeah.
yep. So my wife, beyond being a real estate tycoon, is doing a great job with both kids, and has made me able to focus on football, and as well as some of the great things the university has done to kind of put me in a home for a couple months there close to the university, and I've been all football for since the end of January, and I think it's people want to say like, oh, you're a hard worker, but now we all have people at home that allow us to do the things that we love, and she's probably going to make this football team better because of all the stuff she does behind the scenes.
It's an amazing skill set to have a spouse who knows how real estate works.
Yeah.
Or a coach, I mean.
Yeah. Well, this coach doesn't know much about it, but my wife does. So. Yeah.
So now is she here yet, or is she still?
She's here. Yep, they're all here. Yep, they moved. They've been here for about 2 weeks. So she came out in February, and we shopped around and saw some places and got the lay of the land, and then we actually made the drive 2 weekends ago. Yep, she wanted to drive with the kids, so it was a great experience. The itinerary didn't go as planned, but we made it here. So
Have you ever heard the Dana Holgerson, his living arrangements when he was here?
I have heard some rumors. Yes, yes.
Oh, no, they're not rumors.
Yeah.
It's true. It's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
He checked into the, what was it, Residence Inn? And he just never checked out. It was like Hotel California. He
Yep.
never left.
Yep. That was a dream of my dad's, to not have to worry about laundry or making his bed or whatever. So I'm ready to be settled though. You know, after spring football and as we hit the road recruiting, you get moved into a place and get your furniture settled and all that stuff. So, but all the credit goes to my wife in that department.